Hey everyone, I just wanted to do a quick little tackle talk about the stuff I was using on the St. Lawrence River here a couple weeks ago. Ended up in 39th place, which overall I'm pretty happy with after the practice I had dealing with battery issues and a few other things. So I really caught the majority of my fish on one bait, and then I caught some key fish on two or three other ones. So I was mainly fishing 30 to 45 foot of water, and drift fishing and using my electronics to pick out individual fish, and it ended up being a decent finish. So the bulk of my damage was done on a little finesse football jig, half ounce tungsten, and I had a little stick worm on there. uh, I started throwing it because I just think that they see so many drop shots and Ned rigs. I just wanted something a little different, and I wanted to use bait casting tackle. So I was using a 14-pound Sunline shooter fluorocarbon, 7:3 gear ratio reel, and then one of the major components of this setup was a Legend tournament. This is a prototype, but I don't have any of the finished products of this particular length and action. But it's a 7-foot 5-inch medium power fast action, and it's fairly parabolic. It's not a real stiff rod, which is what I wanted. And because that hook on that jig is not very big, it's maybe a 2-aught. It's not a real heavy wire hook. I'd call it a medium wire. I mean, it was stout enough to handle 5-pound smallies because I caught several of them on it. But you'll notice in some of the videos, if you watch the recap, it's when I get that up anyways. It's not, I wasn't really horsing them on this. I would just kind of hook them and kind of wind them in slow. I did lose a few fish on it, which who knows, that'll happen when you're dealing with big fish. But that was what did the bulk of the damage. I'd say 80% of the fish that I weighed in this tournament was on this setup. So I love this rod for this technique. I mean, it'd be great for other things too, swim jig and a few other things. But that little football jig on this rod was a really good setup. So that was the main thing. Other thing I caught, I know the first day I caught a real good one on it. Several other nice ones. Was just this real small, it's like a 2.5-inch tube. I had a 1/4 ounce football jig rammed up inside there with a 2-aught hook. Kept it real compact, and I had that on the St. Croix Legend Tournament Power Finesse rod, which has become one of my favorite rods for a tube, for a Ned rig, several different things. And it's a 7-foot 3-inch medium power extra fast action. I like that extra length, that that clear water. I want to be able to cast really far. In the shallow area that I had, it was kind of sand spots out in a grass flat. So I wanted to see them sand spots from a long ways away and make a really long cast. And I was able to do that with this rod. And then I had Sunline X Plasma braid, 8-pound, and then I had an 8-pound Sunline FC Sniper leader, connected with an FG knot. I was using a fairly long leader, once again, because that water is so clear, and we didn't have a whole lot of wind in the tournament, so that kind of hurt my shallow bite a little bit. As shallow as I was fishing, it was really hard to sneak up on them fish. Even staying a long ways away. You'd fish one of the sand spots, you'd be like, okay, there's nothing there, and then you'd slide up over it and you'd see a whole bunch of them swimming away. So really hard, hard to trick into biting, but that little tube did a good job. I know I weighed like a 4.5 pounder the first day and caught some other nice ones. So that was another player for me. And then the other one that the second day I caught my second biggest fish on is a little swim bait on an 1/8 ounce head. And this was my buddy Caleb told me about this after the first day. He caught some nice fish on it. So I actually caught a real nice one in the first 5 minutes I was fishing it. I think I caught a couple small ones too, so it wasn't a huge player, but it did get me one real good fish. And it's just like a 4-inch, a little bit thinner swim bait, bright color. And I had that on, once again, the 8-pound Sunline X Plasma braid, 8-pound FC Sniper leader. And then I had this on another prototype Legend tournament. It's a 710 medium power moderate fast action, and I think this is one they kind of designed for spy baits, and it works good for that too. But with this, I wanted a rod that I could cast a long ways, because it's a light, you know, it's only an 1/8 ounce head. And with that 710, man, I could launch this thing. It worked out really, really good. And then the fish that I hooked, that rod's so parabolic, you know, once again, if you watch the recap video, I'll put the one up, bigger one I caught on the, it's just jumping all over the place. I just keep winding. That rod just absorbs those jumps and head shakes so well. So I really, really like this 710 medium moderate for throwing this swim bait. So that was the other one that, once again, I think I only weighed one fish on it, but it was a key fish, and I caught a few other ones. Definitely definitely a key part of one of my bags. And then the last thing that, you know, was kind of the mainstay out there, and I caught some fish on it every day, but it really didn't come into play with fish that I weighed in until the last day. I kind of found a little offshoot of one of the shoals I was fishing, and I could see a group of fish on my, you know, on my live scope, and I think I picked 3 or 4 off in a row, a couple of them being real good ones. And then I ended up running out into the lake that last day, and I caught one of my bigger ones out there on a drop shot. So this is the Legend Tournament. This is the Dropshot finesse rod, they call it. 6 foot 10 inch, medium light power, extra fast. You know, it's the one they designed for drop shot, and it's definitely one of my favorite. Kind of become, you know, I've got some of the Legend Extremes, and I like them a lot for a drop shot too. Same length and action, but this one's got a little more backbone than that Legend Extreme. So I don't know, I really like the feel of this rod, the handle, the balance, just a little bit more backbone. Not too much. It's perfect in my opinion. And I was nose hooking my baits, which that's a #1 Gamakatsu G Finesse drop shot hook. And I was always a traditionalist, where I would just use the standard #1 Gamakatsu split shot drop shot hook. Use that for a long time, caught tons of giant fish on it, still like it. But I started experimenting with this G Finesse because a lot of other people were using it, and I decided to try it. Really like it. It's got a little different gap on it, a little bit wider gap. It's got that slick, you know, material. Super, super sharp. So that was the hook I was using. Really like that. 3/8 ounce sinker, and I was using that new Smallie Smasher from Big Bite in the Sensation. So it's, you know, it's a little stinky, really soft plastic, good action, really good colors. They've got some great colors in this lineup. I just got a bunch of the new stuff actually at the tournament. They shipped us some stuff. So if you haven't used that, check it out. It's a great bait. Kind of a, you know, Reaper style bait, flat on the bottom. It's just a really good bait. I caught some on that, and then I caught some on a, you know, on a flatworm like everybody else. So 10-pound Sunline SX1 braid, 8-pound FC Sniper leader. And once again, with this, I was just kind of picking out individual fish and dropping it on them, casting it to them. And I weighed, that last day I weighed several of my fish on the drop shot, and other than that, the bulk of it was on that jig. So that's kind of a quick rundown of what I was using, kind of what I was targeting. Said it was mostly that 30 to 45 foot, and then I did have one shallow area that was like 5 to 8 foot that I did weigh, you know, maybe 2 or 3 fish on throughout the week. Fun tournament. Obviously the weights were giant. My buddy Jay Shakurt ended up winning it. Bob Downey is in the top 10. Caleb Kufal made the cut. So it was a really good showing for us northern anglers, and really like that. It fished really well this year. So I look forward to going back out there, and you know, hopefully if we go next year, I'd like to try to get out there this fall to kind of get around and learn a little bit more of the water. It's just a really fun place to fish. But for now, I've got to worry about Lake Oahe here in a couple weeks. I'm pretty excited for that one too. Should be a good event, you know, smallmouth. I should feel right at home there. And then right after that, we go to La Crosse, which I'm really looking forward to. Not that I expect to do great there. I feel comfortable down there. Been spending a lot of time down there, you know, last year and this year. So I'm really looking forward to it because there's going to be a lot of people there to support me. It should be really fun. Last tournament of the year, So hopefully I can finish strong, make that classic, and yeah, finish on a high note. So thanks for following along. Look for the recap video here, you know, in the next few days. Try to get that done before I head to Oahe. So appreciate the support. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you.